So yesterday I found myself with a couple of hours free time and I thought, wow, the amazing things I could do. I could read a book, I could continue learning Spanish, I could work on that tricky drum part, or I could spend time with the family. No, I decided to do my first sim at Hyrox. Now, if you don't know anything about me, I am an indoor rower, so I've spent quite a few years competing, winning golds and breaking world records on the rowing machine, but after a series of injuries, illness and a basic just burnout from doing all of those competitions, I've kind of been in the wilderness for a while and looking for something else, and then through a friend and a really good article in Men's Health, I discovered Hyrox, and that's now what I've been training for. And if you know nothing about Hyrox, the first thing I'd suggest is just to jump onto YouTube and do a search, Hyrox, and have a look at what happens, because it's a really interesting watch. But the brief overview is that you do 8 1-kilometer runs, and in between each of those there's some kind of functional exercise. Whether that's ski erg or rowing or sled push, sled pull, farmer's carry, sandbag lunges or wall balls. There's loads to do and loads to tire you out. Now, these are competitions that happen worldwide, and there's a few of them happening in the UK. And I've entered Manchester and Glasgow in round about 5 months' time. So I wanted to do a simulation of the event so I'd get an idea of what I'm going to put myself through and a baseline time. And because it's all done in the controlled environment of my gym, it means I can come back, I can replicate it, and I can see how I'm improving. But the real thing for this first time out is just to look at how it's going to feel and how my times are. So here we go then. This is what I learnt in my first Hyrox sim.
He's running on the treadmill.
Now the run, I've just grouped into all 8 runs in this bit because all I did was jumped on the treadmill, set it for 11 kilometers an hour and ran. So I did all of them at 11 kilometers an hour, which worked out round about 5 minutes 30 for each of the 1Ks. Now I do think I paced the run a little bit on the slow side. I think next time I do this, I'm going to put it up to at least 12 kilometers an hour. But because this is the first time I've done all 8 1Ks, and I do have a tendency to put in a little bit of a calf strain if I go a little bit too fast too soon, and I have hideous shin splints after years of playing squash, so I wanted to just kind of back it off a little bit. Quick tip here, I actually took a couple of ibuprofen and that was fine for the shin splints. Only take ibuprofen if you're fine with it though. But yeah, so I managed to get through the run, so I was pleased with that, but I do think I ran a little bit on the slow side. Everything went perfectly fine, apart from one incident where I went a little bit too far back on the treadmill and almost fell off. Next up was the ski erg. Now again, I think I probably paced this a little bit too slow, but actually I probably would only have gone about 10 to 15 seconds quicker. And you have to think that the cardio toll that would have put on me would probably have held me back on the next run if I was doing this at a kind of a higher pace for the run. So I need to kind of take a little bit more attention on what I do with the ski erg, make sure I'm going fast enough to make it a good time, but not so fast that I burn myself out. Now the sled push, well, that's the first of the real toughies in Hyrox. And I don't think I did too bad. I loaded up 125 kilograms onto my sled and went for it. 50 meters, so that was up, down, and I managed to do it in 3 minutes and 37. Now it was a little bit tough, I had to stop a couple of times. There's a little bit of an issue with the AstroTurf bunching up on me, but actually I'd rather it was tougher than easier, because everybody says that the sled push is tougher than you can really train for in a gym. So I was relatively pleased with this. I'm sure I could shave off another 10-15 seconds if I just get a bit more power and a bit more speed into it. Now the sled pull, I was really surprised by how tough it was. It took me 5 minutes 23 seconds to get through this entire workout. Again, only 50 meters, but a lot less weight. It's meant to be 75 kilograms, but because I'm just working with 20 kilogram plates, I had it up at 80, which again, I'm absolutely fine about. I don't mind working a little bit harder just to prepare me for an actual race day. But I was really surprised at how tough this was. In training, just when I'm doing these without anything else before, I found it a lot easier than this. So I can only assume that the sled push and maybe the ski erg had just taken that little bit of a snap out of my arms, and that's why I found this one a lot harder. So I need to work a little bit on technique, and I need to work a lot more on power in order to try and get a load of time off this, because 5 minutes 23 for the sled pull was probably a good wasted amount of time. That should really be kind of closer to the sled push of that 3:23. Now the burpee broad jumps, I suck at. I don't know why I have such a bad technique, and in fact, if you know anything about how to improve what I'm doing, please get in touch, because I've just hemorrhaged time through this, and I was really struggling from a kind of cardio and muscle point of view. You can see that I'm actually taking time kind of lying on the ground before I can get back up again. And I don't know why, I don't know what it is about the burpee broad jump, but I just really didn't cover it that well at all. So this and the sled pool, I'm sure I can take 4 minutes off my total time if I can just get into the groove and do them better. Now the row is my favourite part of Hyrox, but I made sure to not go too fast on this. I could have gone quite a fair bit faster than the 3:42 I did it in, but I would have ended up really kind of robbing my cardio system for the rest of the event. And remember, I was just trying to set a baseline for this entire thing, so I needed to get through it. I needed to kind of have numbers that I could improve on. And I just thought, if I just go 10-15 seconds quicker on the rower, it's going to destroy the rest of the event. That said, I need to get used to rowing faster within the event, and I can't kind of sit back and pretend I'm better than I am on the rowing machine, turn up on race day, and actually don't do very well. The farmer's carry, well, you'll see from the start there's a little bit of a strange thing going on where I've got one massive 24 kilogram kettlebell and one kind of small one. I didn't realize when I ordered the vinyl version that it was going to be massive, so I need to go shopping and buy another cast iron one. The biggest issue I had here really was grip strength. I managed to cover the 200 meters in 3 minutes 23, but I ended up having to stop at each end to just kind of open my hands up. Now this could be because of the ridiculously large vinyl kettlebell, but I do think that this is something I need to work more on. It's only the first time I've done the full 200 meters with both 24s. I've been training with 20 kilogram weight plates beforehand, so there's an element of it's a little bit heavier, that weird sized kettlebell, but I could hope for the fact that I did this in 3:23 that I'd be able to kind of shave at least a minute off this by not having to stop. Now the 100 meter sandbag lunge got off to a little bit of a shaky start as that knee slammed down onto the ground. The point being you have to touch your knee to the ground, but I just completely, that first one thud all the way down. But I got through the 100 meters in round about, was it 2 minutes and 39, which isn't that bad. I'd like to shave a little bit of time off it, but I actually kind of thought that's one that I don't have to really focus on getting massive amounts of time out of. And then finally, 100 wall balls, and again, this is one that I just need to put a lot of work in. For a start, looking at the video, I think it's fair to say that some of them, maybe I didn't get my thighs kind of parallel to the ground. I actually added on 10 wall balls at the end, just to make up for ones that may have been kind of false throws or false squats in terms of getting those thighs parallel to the ground, but it was really down to the fact I paced it. I'd throw 10, I'd take a breather, I'd throw 10, I'd take a breather. Now again, in training I can do kind of like 20 or 30 and then I stop, then 20 and 30, but on the back end of everything that's just happened for an hour and 25 minutes, this one was a lot of hard work. So I finished the wall balls in 6 minutes and 13 seconds. So again, I'd have to hope that I could take a whole bunch of time out of this by just getting better at it. So workout times then. So the entire workout, everything that I just spent on machines took 1 hour, 18 minutes and 44 seconds. But then I took 7 minutes and 6 seconds in between everything, just getting from machine to machine. And actually I'm in quite a compact gym here, so it really only takes 10 seconds for me to move from one to the other. And in the Hyrox event itself, there's a lot further distance to cover. You gotta get through the rock zone, you then gotta get from the rock zone to the rowing machine, etc. So if I'm 7 minutes, 6 seconds in my home gym, got to figure that's going to be at least 10 or 12 minutes if I was to do exactly the same thing in a Hyrox event. So I need to get through that a lot quicker. So all of this added up to 1 hour, 25 minutes and 50 seconds, which actually I'm quite pleased with. I was aiming for sub 130. So to get to that 125.50 and knowing that I can possibly shave off 4 minutes, but just by speeding up my running, I can shave off these kind of little minutes here and there for everything else. As long as I kind of work solidly over the next 5 minutes to get there and do all this shaving of time, hopefully I'm going to get make up for any kind of time I'm going to lose in the rock zone, but also get a little bit closer to 120 or a little bit faster. Now the last thing to say is just a quick word about what I did for hydration. I had 2 bottles on the go and I kind of had a quick swig as I came off the treadmill. I had one that just had a high 5 electrolytes solution in it, so it's basically just water with electrolytes, and I had another one that had glycofused carbohydrates in it, so it's basically just things for 25 grams, it's 100 calories worth of sugars in it, just to give me a little bit of fuel. And basically, as I came off the treadmill, I'd have a drink of the electrolytes. As I finished one of the workout stations, I'd then have some of the fuel. And that seemed to keep me going. It was my energy levels were kind of up enough throughout the entire workout. I didn't feel at any point that I was kind of like, oh, I've shelved off. So from a hydration and a nutrition point of view, getting through the workout, that kind of lends itself to I maybe got it right. However, I also do think, like I've said a couple of times, that I didn't really pace this as an absolute maximum effort. Looking at my heart rate, you can see across the runs that at the end of the first run, I was a max kind of 139 BPM. At the end of the last run, before I did the wall balls, I was 160. And actually looking at the heart rate over the entire workout, I wasn't really getting up towards max. My theoretical max should be around about 173. I've managed to get up to 183 recently while doing Zwift on the bike. So I figure that 183 is probably my max. I have more latitude available. Latitude, is that the right word? That I could be working harder. But like I said, I wanted to get through this the first time and get it all here. I've got it on a spreadsheet so that next time I can try and do these things quicker and see what happens. So what I've learned for the next time is run faster, try and shave time off some of these functional exercises, maybe work a little bit harder, but hopefully things like hydration and whatever, I've got them right. So I just need to work on what I'm doing to try and get faster. Now my plan is to do one of these a month. So I'm going to spend the next month just doing lots of training, going to run a lot, I'm going to do the sled pushes, I'm going to row a lot, sled pull, everything that I normally do in order to try and get better. I'm certainly going to spend a lot of time doing those farmer carries to try and get the grip strength up, so that hopefully the next time round I do this, I can do a full sim again and hopefully be faster. And if I can do a few of these leading up to the Manchester event in January and the Glasgow event in February, hopefully I'm at least not going to embarrass myself. I don't think I'm going to come anywhere near getting a podium, but for these first two events, I want to make sure and at least not embarrass myself, put in a good showing, have a lot of fun and enjoy Hyrox. And you know what? It's given me, it's lit a fire under me for training. Like I said, I had a little bit of a kind of a mental burnout after racing so much, constantly pushing 2Ks on the rowing machine. And basically what it meant is that I didn't ever really want to cross that line of intensity where I was really putting myself like through it, where I was like, oh, hang on, this is tough. Whereas Hyrox has now given me that. I'm now kind of allowing myself to kind of expose myself to the real discomfort it takes to be able to do something like this. So hopefully what's going to happen is that by doing all this training, it's then going to feed back into the rowing, and then I'll be able to kind of get back into that kind of performance level of rowing as well. So it's a win-win. Anyway, so there we go. That's the end of my first sim review. I do hope that this had some kind of interest for you. If you've got any questions about why I'm doing this, or if you've got any suggestions, or even more importantly, if you've got any comments and tips on how I can do any of this faster, please do get in touch. Leave me a comment below here. And remember, this is RowAlong. I have hundreds of rowing workouts up here completely for free for you to row along to. So if you're interested in improving your rowing, whether you're a Hyrox rower or just a normal rower, then please do check out the various videos and rowing plans I have here. Get in touch and say hi, and I'll do everything I can to try and help you, because I do this all for free just to try and help. So just because it's free doesn't mean it's not any good. I promise you it is quite good. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching. Until the next video, take care of yourselves, be well, bye-bye.